Hello and welcome to your final Last Night's Watch, your weekly Game of Thrones discussion show right here on GamesRadar. I'm Lauren O'Callaghan and Andy's gone walkabouts again this week, so I'm joined by the returning Matt Elliott.
That's right. Now, if you haven't seen the current episode Winds of Winter, please do turn away now, because today we're going to talk about the fallout from the Battle of the Bastards, Daenerys finally leaving Meereen, and first of all, let's have a look at everything that happened at King's Landing. Say the line. It's the last time ever.
Oh, right, yeah. Your watch has begun.
Pro. Okay, so that was Cersei there wiping out absolutely fucking everyone.
Yep, no one left alive, no one.
Unbelievable. I mean, that's play of the game, right? For all of Game of Thrones. Like, I'll get all of my enemies into one building,
yeah, and
then just annihilate the whole thing.
I mean, you can't deny the plan. I mean, it worked. I mean, she's going to be a bit lonely from now on, but technically, she kind of won.
Yeah, I mean, she's kind of got what she's wanted, with a few notable caveats in that all of her children are dead.
Yeah, she kind of brought that last death on herself. I mean, I was so shocked when Tommen just kind of like stepped up to the window and launched himself off, but yeah.
I mean, that was the thing about that struck me was like you were kind of still reeling from everything that happened, and then he just sort of strolls off. It's like, oh
yeah,
wow, okay,
it was chilling. It was absolutely chilling because that opening for the episode was so different to stuff that we've seen before in Game of Thrones.
Absolutely. Like
the music, the way it was shot, the way it was dragged out. You know, it was a really long episode, but the beginning bit especially, like everything was just telling you something terribly horrific is going to happen.
Yeah.
And from the first kind of like explosion right through into his death, it was just one thing after another. Like I needed to take a break before I could even watch the rest of the...
You literally needed to take a break.
Like, I need to take a breath before we can watch the rest of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, it was really nicely handled, and the way it kind of... you sort of knew what was happening at exactly the right moment, so it could even foreshadowed it, but you saw the sept, and then they kind of pulled back, and she was looking at it, and we should have realised there exactly what was going to happen, but when we were watching it together, there was that moment of like, oh, everyone, okay, yeah, that's why Tom's not going anywhere. And yeah, it kind of had a weird, like, almost TV soap to me. There was kind of like a reality to it that was kind of really unsettling. In the same way that last week's episode was really, really tense for a whole different set of reasons, this was kind of unwatchably tense in places.
Yeah, it was almost painful to watch, and I think it was because there was a really, really good mixture of stuff that we probably knew was going to happen, and that almost made it worse, and then something that actually I don't think anyone called. Like, I was really shocked that Tommen committed suicide. Yeah. So it was a good balance of those two things.
Huge. Yeah. Also, I never, ever thought we'd say this, but poor Septon and Ella, that is, oh my God. Gee, I mean...
yeah, I mean, when that scene first started, I was like, yes, because I really hated her, because Cersei was right. She enjoyed what she did to her far too much. But by the end of that scene, I was just traumatized. Like, it was really horrible. I mean, I knew she could be cruel, but that was just a complete other level. I really struggled to watch that.
Yeah, it was vile, properly vile.
But she's on the Iron Throne.
Yeah.
She's made it, finally. Queen of Westeros for how long?
About 10 minutes,
10 minutes.
probably.
I mean,
there's no doubt now, like this whole series is kind of, from the Walk of Shame and kind of through this series, she's kind of become like a more sympathetic character, but now it's like...
she's back to being bad.
Yeah, full on.
Yeah. And obviously, what's the Queen of Thorns going to do? She's not going to be very happy that basically Cersei's blown up her entire family, but she's made some new friends. She
has. I mean, that's quite a nice segue, because like I was quite surprised to be back in Dawn. I thought we'd not seen the last of them, but like we had to have a compelling reason to be back there. And I think the thing they did with Elena was really, really cool. Like, I quite liked the idea of them sparring again, because they gave us some of the best moments of the previous series.
So they've kind of bookended the season with Dawn, which is probably a smart move considering how unpopular the storyline was last season. So do you think maybe this means season 7 they're going to come back into it and try and do it right? I
think so. I think they're going to have to. I still feel like they're going to be bit players a little bit, because they don't feel like they have the sort of the military mind. They've got some cool characters, but I think like there's an element of like, because Varys had to be there. Like, you sort of need that to give them a bit of purpose, I think. But I'd be really, really interested to see where it goes. Right, speaking of Queens of Westeros, that brings us around to the question from last week's show.
Yes. So we're not going to do a question this week because we won't be able to tell you the answer next week because this is the last episode. But
do you want to know what I would have asked you anyway?
No, because then I'm going to have to try and answer it.
The people need to see you not answer a question.
They've seen enough of that. They've seen enough of that.
Okay.
So last week I asked Andy who had been the Queen of Westeros previously. He didn't get it right. The answer is Rhaenyra Targaryen actually ruled as queen for a couple of years after her father died before her brother usurped her. Of course he did. And quite a few of you got that right, so well done. There's Nordic got that right, Thomas Brogan, William DeMarco and Jackie, so well done.
Congratulations to everyone who got that. I think that's a really, really hard question. I would never have got it. And we're done with King's Landing now, so let's head to the north.
The army was strapped, the horses were dying. It was the only way.
You burned a little girl alive.
I only do what my lord commands.
If he commands you to burn children, your lord is evil.
Basically, Jon's been all melancholy in his former home when Davos walks in and gets Melisandre to confess. Are you surprised that he didn't execute her?
Yeah, I kind of did. I'm surprised actually. I thought this might be the last we ever saw of her, and I think we said at the time when we watched it, it kind of feels like he's picked the worst of both worlds. So she's still alive, she's still out there, but she's not going to help him when the White Walkers come. So it's a bit of a bizarre choice.
Jon Snow's an idiot.
Maybe, yeah, maybe not the greatest sort of politician. I'm not sure.
But that's okay, because Sansa's around, and Littlefinger is doing his best to kind of worm his way in there. He finally admitted that he wants her
and the Iron Throne. He's never mentioned that before. I
know. I was quite surprised to see that the Iron Throne ranked above her, but
yeah, I mean, decisions. You're probably going to get neither, which is exactly what he deserves. I mean, it's it's kind of fascinating. I still don't trust him at all. I still don't know what his plan is. It's really confusing. In the same way, I don't really know what Melisandre's plan is. Seeing her right away, she's going to come back in some respect. We don't know exactly how. So it's all kind of, this feels a little bit out in the open, apart from the really obvious thing is that Jon now has the support of the Manderleys. Finally got to see the Manderleys.
You're so pleased,
after
aren't you?
months of me banging on about them, we finally got to see the Manderleys, which is fantastic.
Yeah, so we've got another King of the North. That's probably the big bit from this episode. Jon struggled a bit there where he was, doing negotiations with the northern houses, and Lady Mormont slapped him down.
That was amazing.
Shamed by a 10-year-old girl. I love her so much.
She needs her own spin-off
show.
She
totally does. I would watch that.
Like Paradise Island, but it's Bear Island. Nothing happens.
Oh, yeah.
I got shivers when they did that the first time with Rob. I thought it was pretty amazing, and you're kind of still really angry about Ned when they did that. But this felt like, I don't know, it's taken Jon so long to get to this point. Feels like there's a little bit more solidarity there.
Yeah, definitely.
Although there was part of me that maybe thought that, Sansa could have played some part in that. Maybe she still could. So.
Yeah, I think they're going to rule together. I mean, that's my opinion. They trust each other. They're siblings. I think it's very much going to be a joint ruling, even though he's technically King of the North, because they do need they do need each other. She's kind of dismissed because she's a woman. He's kind of dismissed because he's a bastard. But together, they can rule the North.
Yeah, I mean, and again, this kind of brings us quite neatly onto Bran's vision and Jon's actual lineage. I mean, we don't want to dwell on this too long because I think everyone kind of saw this coming for a while. But that's pretty explicit, I think. The only thing we don't know is the thing that they whispered, and we sort of probably do know.
Yeah, I mean, when she first started whispering and we couldn't hear it, I was like, what the are you seriously going to do this to us? You're not going to tell us what she's saying? But then towards the end, you could just make her out saying, you have to look after him. And I'm pretty sure it was him.
Yeah.
So obviously it's just Jon. He doesn't have a twin sister like some of the theories that were going around.
Even at the time, actually, while that was happening, I was part of me was sort of thinking maybe Mira or something like that. But I think that's the right thing. We've been waiting long enough. We needed to know. You would have gone mad if they hadn't told us. So.
I would. And I mean, like I said to Andy in previous shows, I think the Mira theory is actually spot on, and I wouldn't be surprised if when the book does finally come out, that will be in the book. But I think the show probably made the right decision in terms of cutting that, because it's just going to get so complicated otherwise.
I think just generally, this season has been a really good example of how being sort of unleashed from the books has set them free, and they've kind of picked all the best bits.
Yes. Also, I'm sorry, but I just have to say, the Freys are dead. The Freys are dead and they're in a pie, and I'm so happy.
I would happily eat that pie.
I would. I love pies.
Frey Bentos. Because they make pies.
Yeah, I got that, thanks, yeah.
The more I explain it, the funnier it gets, right? Frey Bentos, like the phrase.
Okay, yes, yes. The Red Wedding has been avenged. I'm so
avenged.
happy. Yes.
And also, who did it?
Aya, yeah. So happy to see her like back near the north. Do you think she's going to pop in on her brother and sister?
I kind of, at the moment, I've sort of lost the run of who knows what's happening where. I go north, honestly.
Yeah. Another family reunion.
Oh, it'd be amazing. Yeah, another tearful moment. Like, we were talking about this, like suddenly the Starks don't look like they're in that bad shape again. Like,
yeah, for all they've been through, you actually kind of forget that there's a significant amount of them still alive.
Yeah.
Like, they've lost 2 brothers, but it was only the second one was this season, so actually, they just don't know each other's alive.
Moral of this story, have lots of children. If you can't have that many, just steal some like Ned did. Perfect.
So, now it's time for our line of the week, and we've picked, again, Bronn, because him and the Hound just keep throwing out these amazing lines. Check it out.
You don't even have to do anything, do you? You just sit there, a rich slab of beef, and all the birds come pecking.
You're welcome to her.
She doesn't want me, she wants your golden fingers up her twat.
Now, very quickly, let's head over to Marine for Daenerys finally leaving.
Finally.
You're in the great game now. And the great game's terrifying.
I'm so happy. She's on the water. It's only taken 6 seasons and she's finally in a frigging boat.
She's not there yet. Like, something could happen, you know, the wind might stop blowing or something.
I was really, really hoping that she was going to set foot in Westeros before the end of this season, but I'm kind of pacified by the fact that she is at least on the ocean.
Yeah, my worry is they were going to get intercepted by the Iron Fleet, but...
Yeah.
I mean,
they could still do.
Yeah, they could. They do have a big fleet. It's bigger than I realised watching that, and obviously dragons. But yeah, I mean, there were some quite touching moments in that. I don't think we should dwell on it too long, but I thought the stuff with Dario was pretty cool. Pretty
I'm kind of glad that he's out of the way, though.
You hate Dario, don't
you? I do
you?
hate him, just because he's a bit of a non-character. Like, it was nice for a time for her to have a lover, but actually he doesn't really add anything. And I actually thought it was really good how they had Daenerys' character kind of just be like, I didn't really feel anything, and that kind of says a lot as well.
Yeah, a little bit scary actually. Like, may see a different side of her in 7, and also you look at who's left. Like, we now have a king in the north again. Who's she actually going to be fighting?
That bit where she's like, I don't know who I'm going to marry. Jon Snow. Jon Snow.
And also, Tyrion, proper hand of the queen. That was cool.
Yes. I think that was the best decision she could make. Like, he's going to be her top advisor now.
One thing that was a little bit weird is, like, I mean, Varys, that dude can teleport, right? Like,
I know. It's like, over in Dawn, now I'm back on this boat.
I think we have to assume that there's some kind of, like, time difference in the way that we see stuff.
Yeah, I'm okay. I can forgive that because it's moved things along quite nicely in this season, which was one of the bad things about last season. So
yeah, fingers crossed. So hopefully, first episode of season 7, we'll actually see her landing.
Yes.
It's been a long wait.
So talking about season 7, like, we can't talk about next week, but let's quickly talk about what we think is going to happen in season 7. Go.
Okay, first thing that pops to my mind is there's loads more going on with Jon and Sansa than we realised from that scene. Like, I think, like, there's an element of Sansa, I think we see in some of the behind the scenes stuff that, like, you know, she wants a bit of power and recognition from this. She is like a true Stark. She's a very, very recognisable figurehead of the family, and they're all chanting Jon's name or King in the North, so I think there's more. There's
going to be a bit of dissent maybe in the North, like, yeah.
I don't want them to dwell on that too much. I think Littlefinger's going to be the problem between the two of them. But yeah, be interested to see where that goes.
He's not done causing trouble.
No, he hasn't. No, realistically, he can't get what he wants. Like,
not with Jon in charge. No.
So that therein is a problem, and he has quite a high strike rate in getting rid of people that stand in his way. So.
And Cersei as well, she is going to be so lonely in King's Landing, sat in this massive hall, not filled with aristocrats, because she burnt them all alive.
Yeah,
and her
what's
brother.
Jaime going to think of it?
I honestly think that's going to be a real issue for the next season. Like, did you see the look in his face when he was watching her be
Didn't look
coronated?
too impressed.
I mean, no shit. Like, she's gone to a whole other level of, like, cruelness.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're going to have real issues as well.
And also, his son gone as well. Which
They're all
kind
dead.
of like, yeah. Every time I leave, one of our children dies, kind of.
I can't leave you alone for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Maybe they can always have more. I don't know. That's grim. We should probably talk about Bran as well, who's finally reached the wall. Now, as Benjen mentioned, he can't go past the wall because there's magic in it that's preventing him from passing it. So it does sort of raise the question of what's going to happen when Bran goes past it.
I don't think we should fly by this bit, actually, because Benjen's saying, you know, the dead can't pass the wall. I'm like, what the hell's John been so worried about for the past 5 seasons then?
Yeah, just
like, I know it's going to cause a bit of an issue if the wall comes down, which it probably will.
A bit of an issue.
All right, the wall will probably come down. It'll probably be a bit of an issue. But I feel like we spent the last 5 seasons with John being really worried in the Night's Watch that the dead are going to come over the wall. And as it turns out, they can't. So what was he worried about?
Yeah, maybe that's why they turned around at the end of season 1. They realised, hang on, this is a magic wall. You can't go through it. There you go. But everything points to it probably coming down. Like,
yeah, definitely.
terrifying.
Probably be Bran's fault. Everything's Bran's fault.
Everything's Bran's fault.
Yeah. So that's all we've got time for this week. We really hope you enjoyed watching last night's watch. We really enjoyed talking about Game of Thrones.
Been brilliant.
And hopefully we'll see you in season 7. But for now, your watch has ended.